As architects?
Yeah.
Well, I feel it's, of course, if you work in this profession, you don't have any other chance as to do this profession.
Yeah.
And you have to do it usually until you fall down.
Yeah.
And there are few architects who said, no, I like to have a nice life, I go now in pension or something like this. Nobody does this.
No, nobody does that.
Norman Forster, you name it, Richard Meyer.
Yeah.
I name now only the ones that are over 85.
Yeah, yeah.
Renzo Piano, Oscar Niemeyer, Gardella, and you name it.
Yeah.
They all have to work until they collapse. So there's no other profession.
They have to work because of their inner calling, not because they would need to work.
They cannot give up.
Yeah,
If I stop architecture, I say, my God, finally I have 3 days of no worries. The first I said, yeah, now what I'm going to do.
Yeah, right, of course. And I just heard from this, one of those of mine, Australian mentors, Glenn, and he still has a 3 years long queue of the projects. And he's about 90 now.
90?
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember who said it. One of these guys. He said, architect is an old man's profession.
Yeah, yeah.
Which means when I was 65, we doubled we won 2 competitions, we doubled the team. Now we are down again. But so it was the time when most of my friends go into pension, you know?
Yeah.
So
today my guest is Peter Lorenz. Peter is not my client, and he probably never will be, because he is my fellow architect. He's running quite well-renowned studio, Lorenz Ateliers, with headquarters in Vienna and Trieste, if I'm correct.
And Innsbruck.
Innsbruck. Okay, not Trieste.
Also.
Oh, 3. Okay, good for you. But in Slovene circles, especially architectural circles, he's more known for the design of this new Ilirija project. Ilirija swimming pool, Olympic swimming pool project. Which is under construction right now here in Ljubljana. It was quite a surprise when Peter contacted me quite short time after I started this side hobby of mine, this podcast, Architectural Dialogues. Because we, in our studio, in our architectural office, Peter Gašperič, we are basically focused on sustainable and healthy, designing sustainable, healthy homes from natural materials. And so we are mostly dealing with people who will live in them and the neighborhoods, close neighborhoods. We never tackle with so big projects like this Ilirija. And so when I started these architects' dialogues, I envisioned to have a dialogue with my clients or some people who are otherwise involved in building the house, and talk about the homes, the lifestyle of those interesting and inspiring people that dwell in it. So obviously the theme you suggested was quite out of the scope of my venture, and I was a bit uncertain at the beginning, especially since I must admit I was quite ignorant. I didn't know much about the project of yours, except from seeing it being built while I was walking from Tivoli parking lot to my office and back. The project has also been already well presented in Outsider magazine. There is a beautiful interview with you and your wife. And you also presented it at Big C event in Ljubljana, which I missed because I was presenting on some other stage at that time. But when I spoke with people, with my friends outside the architectural circles, I found out that although they all had this or that opinion about it, they knew very little about the project itself. And in this respect, I thought, maybe my ignorance, maybe me not knowing much about it, maybe my naivety might be a good thing, because I might ask questions which have not been questioned before in this respect. So why the hell not do it? Let's do it. And here we are now. Peter, you are warmly welcome. I am really happy that you took your precious time to sit here with me and have this hopefully interesting conversation about the project of yours. Okay, so for the start, maybe a question which is maybe not very important, but it intrigues me anyway. This Ilirija will be open when? In April, if I understood you correctly?
No, 25th of May.
25th of May?
Yes.
Okay.
Opening ceremony.
Opening ceremony. So, who do you think will, after or in between opening ceremony, be the first one to dive into the pool? You? The mayor?
The mayor. I hope the mayor.
You hope the mayor? Oh.
Yes.
Oh, that would be great.
In front of the TV cameras.
That would be great, yeah. Because, I mean, it would be suitable also because...
I think he's
prone to do that?
You
discussed
already?
I don't know.
No, we did not discuss. But I think the mayor is responsible to have this project because... we won the competition there was two parts of the competition. There was an urbanistic competition, November 2000, which means we talk about 23.5 years ago. And the architectural competition was in January 2001. So we can write books about it, about these 23 years.
Yeah.
And part of the books will be that we had several mayors, and it was at the end, it was only Jankovic who really said this is an important project, and at the end he decided to do it.
Okay. Yeah, regarding that long process, just yesterday I was walking with my son from the parking lot, and I told him that I'm speaking with you today, and told him how long this project is taking, and that this project is taking really long, and he said how long, and he's now at the last year at the uni just before graduation. And I said, well, this project is older than you are. So probably we have a lot of time, but we don't have time to write books now, but would you be so kind to take the time anyway to just walk us through that, at least major phases this project went through?
Well, I think I got a phone call from, I think her name was Victoria Potočnik. She was mayor 24 years ago, and she asked me if I would take part in this invited competition. There were architects from Slovenia, from Italy and Austria present. I think it was the first international Slovenian competition after...
Oh, really? The first one?
The international, for public project. And I must say I respected very much Mrs. Potočnik because she was very clear about it. And there was a very heavy discussion in Ljubljana about this project, whether to develop a new project on the base of Stanko Plodek's project of 1926, or to forget about it, not do anything. So many colleagues in Ljubljana were against this competition. And I found myself, after winning the competition, I found myself in a certain discussion. I said a positive, a certain colleague, Ravnikar, who was a very important architect, and was for me also a very good chance to discuss. He was supporting the project, and he said that our contribution has made him change his mind about the situation.
Oh, really?
And the topic was always that the railways constructed, I think, before the Second World War, the new railways separated Ilirija as a Stanko Plori from the Tivoli Park.
Right.
So by this separation, the Letterman Avenue, which is conducting from the crossing the city to the Tivoli Park, was interrupted. Mm-hmm. So it was interrupted for many years, which means some 60 years or so. And then we made a competition, and our contribution was, of course, we have to redo this Letterman access, because it's a very important diagonal access to the Tivoli Park from the city. So in the meantime, there was another very strong access, very popular, further south, as you know, south of the building. But now we insisted in our project that this renaissance of the Letterman Avenue is important. I think that's maybe the most important aspect of our contribution. And I think the urbanists always understood this, and Ravnikar was, of course, also an urbanist. And also Janez Koželj understood this, of course, and have understood that it's not only about architecture, it's first of all about the urbanistic function of the project. So we try to make this a kind of interchange, a kind of hub, that we have a public piazza in front of Blodek's building. And this piazza becomes not only a piazza for the sport, but it becomes a kind of interchange between city and Tivoli Park. So this was for us the number one idea of the project. And there was Potočnik, and then we started the first preliminary project, but then it interrupted. Was another mayor, I think her name was Semcic, Tanja Semcic, I think, if I remember.
Yeah,
Simcic. And then the project was dead for some years.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we had also some very strong critics from architects, from colleagues architects in Ljubljana.
Oh, really?
They protested, not discussing with me. I'm open to discussion, but they protest in their own way, and it was. Then there was also Mr. Andelic taking over the project for 2 or 3 years. Then we had Peter Mankoč, was a famous swimmer, a Slovenian swimmer, I think world champion. His father was taking over for several years. There was Janez Sodešnik and Dejan. I'm sorry. They are taking over the project inside of the cities, and so on. So went on, and then finally.
Excuse me. What do you mean by they were taking over? So Andelic was what? He was the one. He wanted to do it.
Andelic somehow had an agreement with the city to develop the project.
Ah, okay.
The city thought not to have the capacity to lead this project, and Andelic is a well-known project leader, and he took over for some 2 years, but then the corporation collapsed. And then it was the swimming club, the Plavalny Club, who was represented by Nestor Mankoč. He also is an engineer, and he was taking over. And at the end, it was the city who took over. That was Jankovic's decision in 2018, that now the city takes over altogether as a client. Now, this is not an easy job, for a public administration. And I think Ljubljana might be now one of the very, very few exceptions in Europe where the city's administration is taking over the job of a client. So this is a very difficult situation because the city is not prepared to do that. And to be a project developer in the project and to be a client for such a project requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's not easy.
Probably they are not structured that way so that it would come easy to them.
I think it was very courageous of the mayor to do it, you know, and I think I admire his guts he had. But on the other side, of course, public projects, in all Europe have always been problems for corruption and for misorganization, and therefore, in many countries like in Austria, the public projects are very regulated, which means it's a total fixed norm and standard how a public project must be done.
Okay.
This is open in Slovenia. I always say, please copy the system.
I read that in the interview. Please copy.
Please just copy, because for architecture this was very important in Austria, because corruption is against architecture.
Always.
So
Always.
Architects have to fight against corruption. And in Austria, I must say that since 24 years maybe now, the so-called BIG is doing the job very, very professionally. Which means...
BIG stands for?
BIG means Bundesimmobiliengesellschaft, which means it's a daughter of the state. They even are being asked by German public investors to take over, because it's very well organized. Now, Ljubljana was with a lot of courage going into this project.
Yeah, we are that.
So
that kind of
it's like
go all in.
It's like jumping into the swimming pool without knowing how to swim. And the mayor had very low expectations of the budget. So the budget was not enough. And so that's why, that's how now end of 2018, we finally got the contract, or got the commission, and we had now a general planner. We have chosen a general planner in Slovenia, because of course we cannot do the general planning in Slovenia. This would not be practically possible. And then we planned, and so the major was excited and everybody else was excited about our proposal, which is more or less also what is being built now. We planned, and then the whole thing got into tender, and I think we started in April 22. I must say we were very lucky to have a general contractor who is very positive.
In what way?
Very positive. Well, for example, he's very positive, very constructive. He's also interested to do a good project. He knows that it's also his fame as a general contractor to have a good project. He's now not our lawyer now for this project. He's not a lawyer of architecture, but of course he must. He's the builder. But I think he's very open and very interested that we achieve a good quality. So this is a very positive aspect. I don't have this often, because we are also used to general contractors. We have a constant fight about quality, and I think, of course...
You mean on other projects?
In Austria. We did, as a general planner, we did several projects. Our biggest project was the university in Linz.
Okay.
And we had to fight a lot with some execution firms in order for the claims, first of all, because they always wanted more money, and try to excuse the architect and other engineers. And so I must say that this is, I think this is very constructive, very positive. Yeah.
Here?
Yes.
Interesting.
It's a Slovenian general contractor.
Maybe that's the case with this one, because I'm hearing from my colleagues who are building bigger projects than me, that they have that kind of problems also here, that the contractor then tries to squeeze and simplify the solutions and stuff like that in order to earn more money.
This is right. Of course, it's a conflict of interests. The politician has his interest, the architect has his interest, the execution firms have their interest. And I usually say, well, look, we have to do an adventure together. We make an exhibition on the Mount Everest, So we have, despite our interest, either we are able to have a common goal or not, If we don't have a common goal, then we have only fights, and you will never get up there. But if you have an expedition and during walking up, the people argue and fight all the time, discuss, you never get up there, So we have to find it. And I think at the end, we all together have an ethical responsibility, which means we must together produce a very good institution for the public. I mean, that's our way how to see architecture. I don't see architects. I don't like colleagues who think, no, I must do for myself a monument or something like this. I see architecture as a public service. We are serving public like the doctors. They are responsible for health, and we are responsible for architecture. That's why I like your initiative, because you try to inform the public about architecture, and I think the awareness of architecture is very low. Most of the people are concerned with many things, and our cities don't develop very well, and our responsibility for industrial areas and growing cancer-like growing cities is very low. So I think it's very important that we all are aware how to design the future. And the future will not be an easy future, because we have the climate change and so on. And it's very interesting that the cities or the city planning does not seem to respond on the climate change at all. There's so much money and so much business involved that nobody wants to change this. But I think that's another question now.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you that we are obliged to the public and to the space first. With our profession and with what we do, because even, as I said, in my case, we design a house, which is basically for one family, but that house will almost definitely outlive that family it is designed for. So, and the neighbors will need to live with it and everything else. So, all that should and is taken into consideration. But I would say that I'm not aware regarding the Austria. I'm not familiar with the Austrian space or Italian space, but in Slovenia there are a lot of very good architects, and I basically daily admire what they are doing, and they are doing pretty good job.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think
so. Always, when I am rewarded with an order or some commission, I'm like, oh, wow, that's something. In all that bunch of architects, good architects, they decided to go with me. That's really an honor. Really.
Well, I have a similar attitude to this, and I don't see any basic difference if we do a one-family house or a huge project like Ilirija, because it more or less always is a responsibility of the architect what he produces. Now, of course, I understand everybody who stays with the house, because to deal with one client who kind of you become friends anyway, because most of my friends, close friends, I have been working for them.
Same here.
Because you get so close, you get so close, and you have I cannot work for somebody who is completely different and has completely other philosophy of life. So most of them are lifelong friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And so this is very nice if the economical side can be arranged, because architecture is most of the time undervalued. But I think the ethical base of our profession stays the same. If you make a dog hut or if you make a huge city, I think the ethical aspect is the same. We are responsible for space, as you said. And that's why I think, to come back to Ilirija, I start now to become happy after all those years. Carefully, but I start now. Because I think we have done now more than 500 projects, but only 30% built, I must say, at this.
But still, it's a lot of projects.
This is really a kind of explosion of space. And maybe we needed all this time to make it like it is now. And I believe that space, to produce space, that architects produce space, is, as you said, a big honor. And it's a great responsibility. And it's not about design, and it's not about art. I always reject to be artists, and I don't want to be a sculptor. You know? We are a service. We do a service. So I'm also against colleagues, even if they're world famous, who mix up architecture with sculpture. Architecture is not sculpture. A sculpture is an artist's work. It can be nice design, new or innovative. But if they are not being used afterwards, a sculpture, then I have problems. This is not architecture. We have to do a service for the people, and we are creating space. We create a space which has not been there before. So this is an incredible job. We create space. Space we are, if we go in the mountains, we know what space is. If we go to a lake, we see what the space is, but we can create space. And what Ilirija for me is, it's a kind of explosion of space. You have so many different views and connections, and you look from the inside outside. You're connected with the traffic, you're connected to the city, you have a relationship to the park. You have all the time, you change, you see here and there, and it all the kind. So this is, I think, it's a kind of admiration of space. And it's a kind of, so this is what I think, even if one or the other detail will not be perfect, but I think under this huge roof of 12,500 square meters, so that's quite a lot. We have a kind of variety of space which is very, 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 very stimulating. And I also believe that space is important for brain.
For what?
For the brain.
Oh yeah.
I believe that even if you look at children, and that's why I have problems if children are being brought up on a two-dimensional information which is already finished, and you just have to look at the iPhone and all the information is there. So the brains are limited to this kind of information. Yeah. If you leave this aside and the child has to understand and to construct in his brain what he sees, then his brain is developing in 3 dimensions.
Exactly.
And if we know, if everybody who is thinking about himself, if we talk about mathematics or so, it's always a spatial imagination in the brain. So we cannot calculate 5 plus 7 how much this is without having a spatial imagination. Everyone, I don't know what yours is, and nobody knows what yours, but everybody agrees, yes, I see it somewhere, and you construct it. And I think this capacity to construct the space is being developed by architecture. And I can understand, and I do discuss this a lot with friends, with architects, that it's a different brain. If you do one one and the same brain, you have it with no space and there's kind of nothing there, or if it is trained in a certain space. Now, if you have a cell of concrete like Navalny, then the space impression will be very limited. And if you have a Gothic church, you will have another impression. And you have now Ilirija, it's another expression again, but it's always about space and about fantasy and about brain construction, about creativity at the end, which gets stimulated or not. Now, architecture should know this and they should be aware of this because it's our profession. The public does not need to analyze this and to understand.
They feel it.
But they feel it.
They feel it.
And
I strongly believe that they feel it.
They feel it. So I like to talk always about passion for space, because the passion for space is something we have to suffer for. I mean, we architects, which means in order to achieve this, it's not so easy. We need to suffer.
Passion for space.
That's right. Yeah. We need to suffer, and it's not easy. If a young architect thinks he wants to become famous because this and that project, okay, I have to tell him, yes, please take another profession because that's not what's going to happen. Yeah. So you need a passion to construct this space. You need this passion also to convince the clients. You need not to give up. I did not give up for 23 years. Even if all my friends said, listen, Peter, I think you have a brain damage, because if you don't understand after 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, they don't want you. Please stay home, go on holidays. They don't want you in Ljubljana. Don't you understand, you know? And says, yeah, I have a problem, I cannot give up.
Yeah, that's how we are. That's how we are, yeah, sure. And, I couldn't agree more with you regarding this space and 3D space. That's why I'm still, even with all these fantastic tools we have on the computer, we are still doing those models you can see here. And I insist on doing them, even with my younger colleagues who come from the uni and they're well versed in computer, CAD, BIM, whatever. And we are still doing that because I strongly believe that even for us, for me, when I'm building the model, I get a different view of the building, of the space, how everything fits together, and also for the clients.
That's right, yeah.
It's something completely different if they walk through the house with VR glasses and BIM. We offer that as well, but if they can hold in their hands the model and see it from the top, from this side, from that side, it's something completely different.
I completely agree.
Yeah, that's...
We cannot... Well, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, there was a period where our architects were so impressed by the new renderings and so on. And many times we thought, oh my God, we need many renderings in order to convince the clients. Now, in the meantime, the best architects, when they are in juries, in Austria, for example, we hide the renderings. They're not allowed anymore.
It was also here the initiative not to show the renderings.
You not show the renderings. So if somebody does a rendering, we put in the jury a white paper over it because we need a model. Because the people might not understand always, because the rendering is always a lie.
Always.
At this stage, you cannot know the floor quality or the walls, the color of the walls or whatever. And it's right only, and it's the reduction of architecture on 2 dimensions, because the rendering is a piece of paper, or a screen or whatever, but it's on 2 dimensions, you know.
Exactly.
And the model has got 3 dimensions. You can walk around it. You can in a big model. We usually start with models maybe 1 to 1,000, 1 to 500 if you have urbanistic project, of course. But we finish also with models maybe 1 to 50 Even with a big project, we try to make 1 to 50. I have also many friends, good architects, who do the same. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we even build 1-to-1 models if we have a construction detail. And
1-to-1 also?
Yes.
I did only one for one door handle. I was inspired by Alto coming from UA school, and I said I need to do a door handle for that house. So I did the door handle, but that was the only 1-to-1 model. Otherwise, we are quite similar. We do 1 to 500 and 1 to 200 mostly.
Yes.
Sometimes that one, let's say, is 1 to 100. 1 to 50. Here and there.
Well, we said it's also, and then I must say, of course, we have to do renderings also. It's not, but then I would say, okay, there's never a rendering which is for nothing. Or we understand certain things also in the rendering, of course. Mm-hmm. But there's no model we ever did, we didn't do for nothing, because every model gives you you learn something constantly. Mm-hmm. And you said, even the clients, they can understand it. Even somebody who is not a professional architect, he can understand a model, easily. But he does not understand the plans.
Yeah, easily.
And that's not so easy. That's not maybe true. Certain people have got talents for plans, it's quite incredible. And other people, they look at the plans and they don't see it. Yeah. But a model, they will understand. Definitely. So this is true.
And even for me, as a trained architect, there are some geometries when I know it was a clear revelation for me when we build a model. That's how the roof comes and so low and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay. Now, I loved the expression you used for Ilirija, explosion of space, because that's exactly how I feel about it when I walk from this side, from that out. That's really like like an explosion, goes everywhere. And as I said, I was quite ignorant, not knowing about the project and the history of this part, because I'm basically not from Ljubljana. And when I saw that you opened that Letterman's passage, I said, wow, that's a smart idea. So that's really a good one. And I think that people will recognize that as a great feature of
yes, it's project. A total. Of course, this is an urbanistic function, which comes. Urbanistic principles are more important than architectural, and architecture is much more important than design in the city. Of course, well, even I would say, I think we can discuss about it, but even in a one-family house, you have urbanistic aspect.
Yes. I didn't want to say that there. That's why we do 1 to 500
that's
space,
right, exactly.
So that you can put the small boxes, how everything looks
like, how it relates
how
to
it connects to the urban tissue. Yeah, right.
Exactly. So I think like before we met today, I had the chance to walk alone through the site. If you believe it or not, I get nervous, I get my normal heartbeat is on 60, and I'm sure I have 110, 120, like when I'm doing a slight run or something like that, because it makes me nervous. I get totally excited about it. It's like under drugs, I talk about drugs, about the space drug, because for me, to perceive a space, if I go in a castle, in a Gothic church, or whatever, go to an exciting space, I become excited. My heart starts to beat fast, and say, "Oh, this is so impressive." And today I was going around and said, "My God, this is incredible." And of course, this is what makes after all this suffering for architects, what kind of then pays it at the end is to enjoy the result and say, okay, all this effort was not for nothing. Went for that. And then you feel happy and everything is forgotten, and we have to forget a lot.
I agree. Just you talking about that gives me goosebumps because I feel the same.
It's the same.
That's one of the reasons why I started those dialogues, that podcast, because always it was like we spent a lot of time designing, planning, in conversation with the clients, then choosing the contractor, then building, then details, then a lot, and then there is a TV show or open house and they just film it, this is the house, blah, blah, the end. I said, that's all. I left 2 years of my life here and it's so much deeper, it goes so much deeper than that.
But I have also, and we get it only from clients with one family houses, I have several letters from people who then stay in a house and after 1 year they start to understand the house fully. And then they write you and tell me, listen, do you know what? We enjoy the house so much, but it's not about sleeping, eating and talking. We understand the space and we look now differently when we visit a city because we start to understand space and to perceive space. And they develop, and somebody even wrote me a few years ago, well, we changed our friends because we go now on holidays in other cities with people whom we can discuss with. Look, this church, look at this, look at that, and we don't only look at the latest fashion in the windows, So they understand space and they have a different perception of the world and of when they go abroad. And this is, I think, a very, very important message.
And it's so fulfilling, isn't it?
It's fulfilling, and of course, if then, as we said, if then this guy becomes a friend, not just because you do ski together or do play football together, you become friends because these friends are grateful for what you have given them, the experience of space.
Yeah.
And they understand it and they travel in a different way. Yeah. And I think that's why I go so far as say it's like drugs. I was never interested in drugs. I always say my drugs is the space. And if I can do some drawings, I can do some models, I can experience a church, this is my drug, I don't need anything else because I'm totally excited and I don't think I can get more excited by taking some cocaine, I don't need it, I was not need. I'm just already enough nervous, so what do I need this stuff? I might explode if I take this. I might be under drugs already, so I don't need them. And I think this space, of course, I sincerely believe, discussing with neurologists also. I'm discussing with philosophers. I'm discussing what is the space experience, in life. And I am very sure that the space experience is constructing the brain. That if you don't have I think people have to stay in a cell, in a prison. I think the major suffering is that they take off the space of you. This is the pain, because you don't put somebody in the prison and you give him all the experience of space. So this is the pain, the biggest pain that you can give to a human being, to put him in a small cell, like they put with Navalny, and give him no space. Of course, this is the biggest pain. And the opposite is to give him all the space.
But what now came to my mind is, what about those monks, Tibetan monks, spending years in a small cell just for the mind to be able to evolve, to get... That just came to my mind.
This is true, but I think about meditation, you maybe don't need anything. You just close your eyes, you meditate.
And you have space.
But if you look at these monasteries, I have been many years ago, I've been in Mount Athos, My God, they have so beautiful monasteries. So this is a...
Where was it?
Monasteries.
Yeah, where?
Athos.
Okay.
Athos in Greece,
Yeah.
where only men are allowed. So if you look at these monasteries, I mean, this is a glorification of space. And of course, they have also the nature as space anyway, and they feel fright free. There are only a few monks for this whole island, so they have quite a luxury of space. And there is no monastery which is not totally beautiful.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you look usually at the refectoriums, I don't know if that's English, now when they're eating places, usually their spaces, like they're incredible. So when they met on their long tables for eating, they have a spatial experience which is fantastic. So I believe that they knew about it. Even if they say, okay, we want to reduce our spatial because we have to concentrate ourselves, but then they go out after their 8 hours of prayer.
I agree, yeah.
And they have 8 hours in the open and working or whatever they do.
Yeah, you are probably right. I
And
agree. Probably they did those cells just for the opposite, so that they can. You need the opposites in order to.
That's right.
Yeah.
You need you may even raise the awareness for space. If you go first into the cell and then you go to this space, to the church or whatever. And there's another thing which we can learn from the monasteries once we talk about it. It's about reduction. They are the perfect minimalists. And if you look at neither when you go to Tibet or you go to Athos or you go to the medieval monasteries, not so much in the Baroque monasteries, but you have a total reduction. You only need space. You don't need any pictures, no decorations. You don't need nothing. You just need the space. This is fantastic about the medieval churches that you only have the space, nothing else.
Yeah, right.
And this is apparently, again, for the development of the brains, for the monks, it was important to have this reduction in order that the brain can develop, but they needed the space. And they knew very well what can I get out of my brains in the right space.
Right.
That's why all these spaces are similar. They're always very ascetic, very reduced, and very, very inspiring. We go in there, we feel something. Maybe somebody, I want here some decoration, so he just wants to, he would have to come down and see what is really important. But I think the reduction of space is also the strength of space,
And that's on us, so no sweat.
Right. Yes.
Okay, yeah, so as I said, I really liked your expression, this explosion of space, because you can feel it there, especially in this architecture of yours. What I wanted to ask you, you talked about the development of the project, but maybe I missed it or you skipped it. There was a phase when you already had everything developed, and then part of the old swimming pool was kind of suddenly protected, right?
Yes.
What was that about?
Actually, talking about Slovenian architecture, of course, we know the very famous one, Jose Plečnik, but working on Ilirija, I discovered this Stanko Plodek. And the Stanko Plodek must have been a very interesting guy. He was not only an architect,
he was engineer.
He was an engineer. He constructed this ski jump in Planica, where, by the way, an Austrian was the first one who jumped over 100 meters. This was in 1936 in Planica.
1936?
Yes, there was the first jump above 100 meters.
Okay.
It was an Austrian. But the record was done in Planica.
That one I don't remember. I remember the other one when they wanted the first one to jump over 200 will be Slovenian, and they put Bogdan Norčič at the top, and he went. But I think he glided with the hand or something, and it was not valid. But and he almost killed himself.
Well,
so,
the ski jumpers, Austrian and Slovenians, they quite fight each other. Yeah. But I mean. So Stanko Plodek was a very interesting guy. And when we had the competition, it was clear that the old swimming pool has to be destroyed down. So this was conditioned because everybody said...
That was part of the initial tender.
Well, it was not protected, it was clear. So we didn't, we said, yes, okay, it's not so important. But then it was after 10 years working on a project, the idea came around that this should be protected. And we said, and of course there was even promoted by certain people in Ljubljana, she said, now we have to make a new competition. Many people liked this idea. I did not like it so much.
Yeah.
And I had, we had to show that the project stays more or less the same. Mm-hmm. All the urbanistic and the architectural features stay the same. If we include this entrance building of Blodek inside. And I said even that this becomes now, because it's not the original function. It was before, it was a wardrobe, and now it's a coffee. So it's a different function. So we make it an object. And this object will be under the roof, and it's like in a museum, you know. It's like an object in a museum, because it's not anymore the whole pool that you could protect, because it was an outside pool. So the entrance building becomes now object which is under the roof, like in a museum.
So this will be inside,
under the roof,
so visible from the outside or not?
Yes, sure. Yes. You are the public piazza. Okay. Then you see the old building renovated. You go through the building, it's the entrance, and you go inside. You have inside on the right the Stanko Blodek Museum, a small record. I like this because he's a very interesting person. On the left side, you have a coffee shop. And
so you not only, the way I understand it now, you not only protected it, but also gave it meaning.
Sure, clear, because I don't want an object here. Just architecture. Architecture has to be used. If it's no use, we might tear it down, you know. Mm-hmm. It's not, let's say, also respecting Stanko Blodek. It's not the main church. It's not the Three Bridges and the center of Ljubljana. It's important, but it's not essential for the identity of the city. So I think we can change the function and we can keep it and we can respect it. We even respect it. We were fighting quite a lot because originally there have been the sun terrace on the top. Mm-hmm. The nude people were on the top.
Oh, really?
Yes, and they had on the floor, and we said we have to use it. Now, of course, nobody wanted to have the nudes up there, so we said we make a bar.
You think not?
Sorry?
You don't think any?
Well, we didn't ask the mayor.
Okay.
Maybe he would have said yes, but we said, listen, guys, this is an incredible space, you know, and let's make a bar. So now I think at least the installation is there, and I hope that somebody will understand that this is on the terrace, on the original nude bathing place. We have the bar on the top, and you have a splendid view over the piazza, and it's really something fantastic. And you can go up from the inside. So the building now, I'm very happy about this protest 10 years ago or 14 years ago, because the building becomes now not only an object to keep it, but it has a very, very important function.
So I guess at least it happens many times to me that sometimes I already think that everything is very nice and very thought through, and this is it. And then the client comes with some other demand, and I'm like, not now, what now? It has already been thought about, but then I go into it and dwell into it, and at the end, something that comes out is better, and I say, wow, very good that came up, because now it's better. So you are saying that you feel like now
it's
being better
yeah.
because of that?
I was against it, because I didn't like it.
Yeah, the same.
But at the end now I have to say, my God, it's fantastic,
It's
you know.
yeah.
Maybe this is also from something which is bad, or the architect has to use the chance. Yeah. We have now at the site, we have a mistake, construction mistake.
Yeah.
And they asked us, what should we do? And we said, we cannot hide it. It is visible. So we must make the opposite. We must present an idea, and you will see it then afterwards. I hope it will be executed. Now nobody thinks about the mistake. It's an additional. It's something which we never. It's a feature. We never have been thinking about this, you know. And we reproduce Stanko Blodek's swimmer, the figure which was stolen, by the way, 10 years ago.
Okay.
The beautiful swimmer, the sculpture of Stanko Blodek was stolen. And now it has to be reproduced. And now we make this figure in a very small version, and you make it 100 times inside, you know.
Oh, great.
And so in order to hide a mistake, I think this is architecture. You know? We have to deal with the problems and find solutions.
Now that you said it, many cases comes to my mind that it was a construction mistake and something, and then we need to turn it into something which seems like it was meant to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now, because you say the clients, of course the clients is the most important. For the artist, the client is not so important. He needs a buyer. He doesn't need a client, usually. He needs somebody, he can produce his work, how beautiful, in his atelier, and then he hopes that he sells it, of course. Yeah. That's a different procedure. We cannot do that. We have the client, we have the administration, we have the laws, we have the norms, we have hundreds and thousands of conditions and so, and we still have to do architecture. So this is why the profession. But the most important is the client, of course. And the client is, of course, at the end, it's the client's work. And in the Roman time, it was the client who built it officially. I don't know, Diocletian built it, fits it, or something like this. Now, I think that's why in Austria we have an architecture prize, chosen by architects, but it's for the clients. So we have a prize not for the architects, for the clients. And it's chosen by the architect. This prize is already 45 years old. Yeah. And every year we choose the best clients.
Ah, you choose the best clients.
We choose the best clients, the ones that promote architecture. And there are several people prized who were before, they didn't like architecture, but then they got the prize and they are promoting architecture.
Oh.
So for us, the client is, of course, the most important. And of course, I adore to cooperate with people where we have a certain level of discussion and a certain recognition each other. And of course, there are many people I cannot build for, you know, because the ideas are too different and we never get on. But I think I usually like to talk about mountain guides, that architects are like mountain guides. I have to go to the client, to the hotel, you know. I have to fetch him where he is. He can be on 100 meters, on 200 meters, on 2,000 meters or 3,000 meters already. And then as a mountain guide, I have to decide which altitude can we achieve. You know, there are certain people, I'm already happy that we get to 3,000 meters, not more. If it's too low, then I say, no, we better don't cooperate. With certain people, you can achieve.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. If it's too low, then it would be a pain.
It's not interesting,
it's
a pain. You know, say, okay, everybody can do that. You don't need an architect. Do it yourself. But then there's this fantastic experience that you can go with the client. You can do this mountain tour, and you have to help each other. Maybe the guide has, oh my God, I have to better be stopped now. We discuss it. You get a cup of tea, and we go on, and then you achieve the maximum. And the maximum is, in this case, Ilirija, is what we could achieve with the client, because the client always could have said, no, I'm sorry, this is too much, we don't want this, and things like this, you know. But at the end, it's the client who decides.
Yeah, but okay, in my case, it's the client who is the client is very obvious. It's the guys who live there, who pay for everything. The client in this case
is represented by the experts, by the jury at least.
Yeah, and now by the municipality who is paying for it. But
it's right,
at the end of the day, the clients are all the people of Ljubljana.
That's right.
Kind of.
That's I like that, because I think it's very important that the architect has the ethical base that we work for the public. Yeah. We don't work for ourselves. Yeah. It's not my house I'm building there. And correct. Some people said, why are you so much fighting for this or that detail? I said, listen, it's not my house. I'm the one who is not going to use it. It's all the people from Ljubljana who use it much more often than I am. I might be there at the opening, maybe go there 3 times in my life to swim there. It's not my house. Yeah. It's the engagement for the public. And for many people today, in this time period where engagement for the public is not very popular, people don't understand it. This message coming from architects that they don't only build for their clients, but we build for the public. Of course, it's more important in a public building as it is in a one-family house. But in a one-family house, you might have to have public arguments because it's visible publicly, so you cannot put
I agree.
Bad quality.
I agree.
And now this is very difficult because also politicians must understand this, that architects, and I don't know any good architect in the world that I respect, I must say, who doesn't have this in mind. I'm responsible also for the public. I'm not only responsible for myself, in a public percent. Of course, people have to become happy, they have to be satisfied. There's maybe one thing I should make as a compliment to Ljubljana. I think it's incredible today to build such an institution in the middle of a city. This is very rare, because Ljubljana is already quite a big city, I think 400,000 people. So this is already quite a big city, and usually these pools and stuff, they will be on the outskirts. We have a cheap place here or there, and we put this on the outskirts. What happens? The people from all the city, they have to go to the outskirts. A lot of traffic, and double, of course, mathematically, it's double the road. But if you have it in the center, you have it much closer for the people. And I think to have this institution, the public pool in the center of Ljubljana, is incredibly important.
Okay, that is one question I wanted to tackle, because yes. When I was, as I told you, I asked some colleagues of mine, which I quite admire and value their opinion, and they all spoke very highly of you. And there were, that was one question which came to, no, they didn't say it should be this way or that way, but they said kind of, this is the question, and I wanted to ask you for your opinion. And you already partially answered. So one logic behind this, that one, you said, so let's put it here and everybody needs to congregate into the center. And the other would be, let's design that so-called, how they call it, 15 minutes city. And that would call for more distributed centers of the city, because so everybody should be able, now somebody from Črnuče cannot get, say, in 15 minutes. Yeah.
Totally agree. Total
agreement.
No,
it was a question. It was not a statement. I'm just wondering about that, because
I'm totally in favor of the 15-minute city.
Are you?
Because I think we must make the cities fit for climate.
Okay.
And the cities now, and even the ones that are built now and today, is not fit for climate. We have to reduce the traffic drastically. Mm-hmm. We cannot anymore have industrial areas here and here, living areas, and here we do work or whatever. this was a concept, the Charter of Athens, 1934, turned out to be a failure. We all understand what they wanted, Corbusier and his friends. They wanted to fight the atrocities of the 19th century with the smoke and so on, tuberculosis and all this. But now we turned out, together with the city for cars, it turned to be totally unfit for climate. Because we extended, we even in Ljubljana, the weekends and the mornings and evenings, there's too much cars and too much traffic. And so I am totally a fan of Paris and so on, who try really drastically to reduce the traffic, and it's the only way. And I think now we talked about the position of this Ilirija.
Yes.
Ilirija is on one of the major crossing of the country.
True.
The crossing between Bleiwersova and Chilovska is one crucial meeting point. So I adore that this meeting has now a huge dominating public institution, because before there was nothing important. So that's one thing. The second thing is it's an interface between city and nature. It's a kind of joint, like a joint, yeah. And and therefore it contributes to urbanity. What is urbanity? Urbanity is a mixture of uses. First of all, dialogue between the uses, dialogue, spatial quality, and connection of all kinds of things. If we all miss that, then we have the periphery. Mm-hmm. When you take off the urban qualities of a city, then we have the problems of the periphery, which is like Paris. The banlieues in Paris are the fountain of aggression and terrorism. Bataclan, 2015. So this you nourish the young people to become terrorists if you don't give them a city. So urbanity is not only a wish of architects. Urbanity is a social necessity. And you can see, if you take this off the people become criminal. So I think now I come back to democracy, because it seems to be so difficult to produce urbanity today, but it's so much needed, And I admire Vienna for being the #1 city in the world for popular housing, for social housing, because they reduce the criminality and they reduce the social conflict. Paris is a beautiful city, but nobody of us is going to Paris banlieues, to the peripheries. Everybody goes in the center of Paris. So where is urbanity? We liked it. We don't like the terrible atmosphere of the banlieues. Okay. And I think looking at all this, coming back to Ljubljana, I think it's an incredible performance of these 23 years, nearly 24 years when it will be finished. Somehow with all the people against the discussion against, I have no problem, I have no problem with somebody's against it, but with all these 23 years of discussion of being for, against it, and defending and positive and up and downs, at the end, there's a fantastic project in the middle of the city. It's an interface, and it will contribute to urbanity of Ljubljana. And I think that's why I think it is a very, very good continuation of Ljubljana's urbanity. And it was not only Plečnik, but Plečnik very much, who contributed incredible quality of urbanity in Ljubljana. Mm. And I think I really must say to my friend Janez Košelj, he was continuing this in 20 years in a democracy as a vice mayor, and Jankovic gave him the chance. So this is a fantastic situation, which I don't know from any other city in Europe. And that's, I think, why I have to congratulate Ljubljana for the last 20 years, because it's incredible what happened in the city in 20 years. It's really amazing. And I think that Ilirija is in this tradition of project of contributions of architectural projects for urbanity. And that's why I adore to have the sports in the center and not on the periphery. And I adore to have this Blanco Blodig Museum, and I adore to have the parking garage underneath and the running tracks on the outside, you know.
Probably argument would be that Ljubljana is not that big anyway, that you would need to push that to periphery or something.
But you know, many cities where this is the case, even other pools of Ljubljana are quite outside, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's just an easy solution. I know many projects also now in Trieste, they want to put it on the outside because it's the easiest stuff. We have a site here which doesn't cost much, and so that's the easiest solution. So to put this on the center in the city was causing a lot of debates and discussions and problems, but okay.
It's always that way.
It's always that way. It's not to say, okay, I do it and then it's done. This is not our democracy. In the democracy, we have to argue, we have to discuss, we have to be. I think it's already very good if the arguments convince. At the end, somehow it was possible, even it's a long time, but maybe also the result is reflecting all this. I don't think the project 20 years ago was as good as it is now, you know.
That was another question of mine, because I did my part of research and I saw that project, which was first, and it was really nice. It was very elegant, like somebody would just pull the grass up.
Perfectly. This was the idea.
And
this was exactly,
we said nowhere.
I can tell you why this project was, because
it was really beautiful. We had heard
about the discussions, and my friend Ravnikar was explaining me the arguments and says, what are we going to do in a competition? And then we decided exactly what you said. You have exactly analyzed it. We decided, okay, we have here the nature, and we lift up the corner and we lift it up, and we keep the nature. And we can satisfy both sides. The ones that want to keep the nature and the green, and the other ones we put the building underneath. So this was more the idea of the project, to fulfill both sides of the. Somehow the jury must have felt, okay, this is a solution which we can accept, but only then afterwards it became too difficult. For many, many reasons, and we had to change the project, and I recall it the regulation plan in Ljubljana. Open plan. And so at the end we had to change the project, and I think now the project was open because in those days we had a movable roof. So it said, yes, beautiful, but it costs, costs millions, we don't have this money and things. So for many reasons, the project then was not feasible. And again, we had to change and adapt the project. And at the end, I think now very much, which is better than it was before, is the relationship to nature, and from inside out to the green areas, to all the sides, you can see the traffic, you can see Tivoli, you can see the outside areas, and so you have opened it to all around. It was not easy. No, it was not easy. And
it was not easy? What do you mean?
No, it was not easy. It was not easy, but of course, as we say, to go on the Mount Everest, now it's not so much problem anymore, it seems. But to go up to a high mountain is not as easy as to promenade in little hills around.
But that's not everybody is walking that path, so it's much more interesting.
I usually say that I have a brain damage because I could have also an easier life, just not go. But why do come philosophics? But why do we want to go to high mountains? Why do we want to do unusual stuff? You know, so. It's the same story. It's at the end, now after all this year and seeing these results, I see, okay, it was worth it, you know.
It was worth it.
So it will be forgotten. Next year I will have forgotten all these problems.
But this will still be here. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's right.
And some colleagues said, that first proposal was really nice. As I said, it was just like lifting the grass slightly, and this is
it was query.
This is bigger. This is this and that, and that's why I took the time a few days ago just to go to see it from all sides, because some said it's obstructing this and that, but to me it doesn't seem like it was obstructing anything of importance at all. It is still quite invisible, although it is much more visible than the first proposal.
Yes, and then of course we have thought it. You remember 20-25 years ago, the land art was a very big deal in the art business. There were many artists who played with land art, and I was impressed by it. So I'm sure I got influenced by this, and I think this was one of the first projects in land art architecture in those times. And we were convinced. We followed this project many years, So it wasn't. Yeah. But at the moment, I think at the end, from the ground floor plan, not much changed. We always had the trimmers. Only what I feel a bit of pity was the limitation with 15 meters, so we could not do the jumping tower. This was maybe something that I feel sorry, because to have this one pool, which is now the training pool, with the jumping tower would have been great,
Yeah.
Because I like these jumps. I never could do it, but I like to watch it. It's just great how the people from 10 meters, but we could not fit it in anymore because the limit. Do they say, okay, I understand the limit. Of course, I don't want a high riser there. But of course, 1 or 2 meters higher would not have changed
Maybe
much.
you should have done it like being down and just lifting.
Yes.
Jump.
I'm sure somebody would have said this costs too much.
I guess so. Yeah.
But of course, the maximum was achieved. I was sorry for the jumping tower, but of course now we have a building without a jumping tower.
So now you mentioned the pool, and this is the good base to ask you, what exactly is under this roof? Beside the pool.
Well, of course.
What's the program of all this complex, which is quite big? I mean, spacious, I would say, not
it's
big,
very
like
big.
Spacious.
First of all, it was the function of the Olympic pool.
Okay.
Because Ljubljana is anxious to become one of the. This was maybe even Peter Mankoch heritage, maybe. That swimming became so popular. If somebody wins a gold medal, then swimming becomes popular, like Austrian skiers or whatever, Slovenian ski jumpers. And it was clear that Ljubljana wanted a 50 meters pool. So now we have the competition. So everything has to be, and there was very much concentration on it, to have all these norms from an Olympic pool. This is predominating. I was always fighting for the public use of this pool. Because
it will not be in public use?
There is a public pool, but the Plavalny club had 99% was the swimming, the sportsmen, things like that. I always argued, yes, but it's a lot of it's very expensive, and we have this situation. We don't have a training pool outside in the outskirts. We have a public urban project that we look inside, outside, and it will urbanize. So this is a discussion which will be solved by the use, but I think the people now understand this is a beautiful place for the public pool. So the tribunes will be used as because we have only few events at the end. So the tribunes for 1,500 will be used for the visitors, for the people, for the families who come there for bathing. So that's one thing, that's the tribunes. Then under the tribunes we have not only the toilet, we have a physiotherapy. Unfortunately, They did not, at the end, they cancelled the wellness and sauna. I thought
they
massage.
They
were cancelled.
How come? That would be kind of logical extension of that kind
Please
of program.
don't ask me.
Okay,
I
won't.
I thought it was cancelled recently. I thought it's
But
it's a pity.
But the space is probably there.
The pace is there. Now we have lots of physiotherapy.
Okay.
In my belief, the physiotherapy can be anywhere. Because if you have a broken knee, you go anywhere. In order to be hit, it doesn't mean to have the swimming pool. But anyway, it's not my decision anymore. It has been taken off. I feel sorry. And then you have all the wardrobes for the public, wardrobes for the teams and so on. So this is all underneath the tribunes. Then you have, of course, in front of it, you have the Blodex building, which we were fighting a long time. So it could be not only more the skylights of the wardrobes, but also we need some openings for the coffee, otherwise it doesn't work. It's done now. I'm not so happy with it, with the design, but okay, we cannot achieve everything. And then, of course, it was the public piazza under the roof. The public piazza was for us very important. And I think it's also good because it's shaded, protected from weather and from snow and from rain and from sun. So we can use it all the time, day and night. It's been illuminated and you can do all kind of things there. You can make a box fight or a car presentation or whatever comes into mind. It's just a perfect place. You always have, you can make public medias, whatever. And then we have, of course, the other building, which is where we have 3 gyms. And we have the martial arts rooms. And so this is quite a big building program. And plus we have, of course, the connection to Tivoli, which is a 9 meter wide road, you know. So 9 meters
this passage.
This passage. So it is quite a wide road where we have.
So it's also not just a corridor, but a space for itself.
It's a space for itself, and we now hope that the public will understand this space and use it. We have. We tried to open everything. We opened the glass fronts. So now this is now still a conflict. How much the user wants to close space, how wants to open space, and there's a terrible. The people are so afraid of homeless people, of pedophiles, and things like this, and said, please, don't be so afraid of the future. Let's enjoy the city, let's enjoy space, because we cannot close off the city or the beauty of a city because we have 1% or 2% of the people who are criminals. And
at the moment some fear starts to dictate your life, then you are doomed.
That's right. And the city is not made for fears, you know. The city is made for openness, for communication, for beauty. So let's enjoy this 95%. And the other criminals, we don't. It's not that we don't visit Paris because you have some pickpockets there. You know?
Right.
This might happen if I don't watch it, but please let's enjoy the city and not close the city because we have criminals and pickpockets. So, okay, this is now public discussion, and we hope that it will work. We hope that the doors will be open.
Now you mentioned that openings, like visible openings, will there also be some possibility to open it physically, or it's enclosed completely?
Well, we have certain areas that are being enclosed. For example, you have an outside gym area, like you have in Shanghai, you have it in Europe, many, that people meet and do some gymnastics, for example, or they do Tai Chi. In Shanghai, for example, people meet and they do Viennese waltz dancing on the river. And so
I remember those scenes from there.
It's incredible. You hear Viennese music and the people start to dance waltz. They don't do in Vienna, but they do in Shanghai. So I like this, of course, and we produce this open space. And now, if you close this space off, it's a pity. But there are doors. They still can open the doors and can maybe close it at night. But of course, I would like that the people meet there for gymnastics. In Vienna now, young people, they meet and do gymnastics and runs, and so they meet. They have a kind of club, and they get together with the iPhone, and they meet and they do some gymnastics and all kind, and they meet in the public. So I think this is an urban function which shows that also health becomes part of urbanity.
Yeah. But the pool is closed. The
pool will be closed.
Closed completely. Okay.
I hope that we were arguing a lot for the lighting of the pool.
Yeah.
And we managed to convince the client that the pool roof is illuminated from the bottom. So we have indirect lighting.
Okay.
What is the advantage? The indirect lighting does not glare in your eyes. And at night, you have the roof floating in the dark sky. So it will be very fragile and everything else. So if we only illuminate the roof, you will only see the roof. And this, I think, I'm looking forward. Yeah, this is very good. And at the end, I must congratulate the client, because at the end he accepted this idea.
Okay.
It was also not very easy, but...
And the roof also, if I understood correctly, the roof also has some photovoltaics on top
yes,
of it?
We have, I think, if I guess, 4,500 square meters. So I think we have a kind of nearly zero energy building.
Okay.
Which is because we produce a lot of photovoltaic. So in this was not so easy was not so difficult to convince, because Ljubljana already has Zeitgeist, yes, that's right. But also Ljubljana has a tendency towards being a green city. So this is, Ljubljana in this is for sure one of the avant-garde cities in Europe, I believe, to politically decide we want to be green. Most of other cities, they talk a lot, but nothing happens, or not much happens. So Ljubljana in this respect is avant-garde.
Avant-garde. Okay. I think there is one thing I always do at the end of the project. When it is built, I think like if I would be able to take some kind of time machine or something to go back, what would I have done differently? So in this case, what would you have done differently if we start at 99 or when all it started? Would you do something differently?
No,
you
because
you wouldn't give up. You said you wouldn't give up.
I would not give up.
That's great.
I think I like to accept the story, the history, and I have no bad feelings to anyone, even the ones that have been against the project. So this is history, and it's a kind of dispute, so a social dispute in a society.
Okay, that's
and you have come to the point. What I can say about myself, we did the best we can. We never give up, and we tried also to do the maximum. So the things that we were able to influence, we tried to influence. That's right, and to contribute. Now, of course, the swimming pool is not only the work of the architect. Yeah. There is the engineers, there is the client, there is all kind. I think the architects have incredible many conditions to fulfill. Yeah. Even altogether, I'm sure if we start counting, we have thousands of people who somehow contribute to the project. It's not only the client side and the administration, but it's also the management, all the planners, all the people who are working on site. Somebody can make a vote. So we have to react and the project will be influenced. There are many votes on the side. The project was a challenge for everyone, not only for us. And now you can see, oh my God, there must have been many discussions. You can see it, you can read it actually. And of course, everybody was stressed to the limit. Of course, I get bad feelings back because many people say, dear architect, why are you stressing us so much? Can you not reduce with your, and so, I can even understand if many people don't like the architect too much because he's producing stress. So all our argument is only
but
if
this
the
is
project...
short-handed stress. We are not producing long-handed stress.
We
Hopefully. We hope.
Now we still hope. In 3 months now, the building will be taken over by the public. And if it is successful, it's not my decision. It's the public and who decide. It's at the end, it has to be accepted by the society. Exactly. This is the only, like a one family house at the end, it can be the best house of the world. If the family doesn't feel well, it's not good.
You're not.
So we have this incredible tension still. Will this be accepted and understood by the public? Now we are optimistic because I never had the sensation that already now, 3-4 months before the finish, the execution firms start with their public relation work and are totally excited about their own contribution to this. The Italian firm of the pool, they are the best pool makers in the world. They do 26 pools right now for Paris, for the Olympic Games, and they do Ljubljana. They're totally excited about it and they get totally stimulated, want to do. Then Macro 5 is the builder. They are totally excited about the building and said, now we understood what you... And so they're excited. Even the people, when we had the party at Christmas on the site, and I understood even the guys who are working on site, they can't understand that there is something special here. This is not just a garage, And so the success of the building is if the society will accept it, not for one day, not for 1 year, but for
decades.
And this is the stress that we have as architects, will this be, because we can imagine, we have it in the head, but the proof is when it's becoming reality.
Yeah. You mentioned so many moments which are so similar to mine, although on smaller scale. Like the moment when the contractor comes from the state of annoyance, why you are complicating my life, to the state of pride, I did that.
That's right. That's right.
That happens so many times to me as well.
I think architects...
And that's so similar. Nice to see. So nice to see.
Well, this is, I can also tell you, I have a very good friend of mine is Dominique Perrault from Paris, very close friend. And I learned that no matter whether you build in Seoul like he does, or you build in Ljubljana, or you build around your corner from the office, it's always the same feelings. Yeah. And that's why I think during my lifetime, the percentage of friends who are architects is raising. Because you understand with the time, okay, we might be competitors, but sympathetic means that we have to suffer together in the Greek translation. And that's why many colleagues become very sympathetic, because we have the same sufferings.
Yeah. You were talking before about this nervousness, what will come out and everything. And it, as you said, it goes the same all over. I remember when we were at the end of this masterclass, we had Glenn Murcutt and Peter Stachbury and Richard Leplastriere down in Australia. And we had this farewell party, and I so vividly remember we were walking to the boat to leave that place, and Glenn was some of our younger colleagues asked Glenn, how are you doing that? I'm so nervous when I get the client, and now I need to tackle with the space, and I don't know what to do and everything. And Glenn, who was at that time about 80 something, said, "Oh, don't worry. I'm still getting nervous when I get the commission." So it's all the same. And it's also that responsibility you were talking so much about it, that hangs above our heads.
Yeah, the difficult thing is that on one side you have to be sure and you have to be convincing, and nobody believes you if you are not sure yourself. So you have to come, I believe an architect has to work so much and so hard in order to be convinced about his own project. That's the first stage. I never present a project to a client if I'm not convinced. I prefer to say, Luz, I'm sorry, I'm not ready yet, not yet, I have to work. And then if I went through all the alternatives and then there's one more and say, okay, that's all I can do. And then I can go to the client because then I'm convincing. And most of the time, the client gets convinced, and then you have this difficult realization phase. At the end, the responsibility, I'm very nervous, is he now convinced, can use it, and things like that. But this is with a one-family house the same.
It's the same.
And after the first few months that somebody is living his new house, he starts to become a friend of his own house, and he starts to understand the house, and then you become friends. Because he understands what you have done for him, for these clients, and whatever the houses look like, but I think this is it. Yeah,
if you haven't missed the mark, that's it. Yeah. I mean, one of the best compliments I got from my clients of, which one? That house there, was, he said, now when they're already living in the house, he said, out of 10 times I disagreed with you, I was 9 times wrong.
Yes, this is...
for this one time, I'm not sure yet. Something like that.
This is typical.
That's nice to hear. It's
nice
really
to hear.
Comforting.
But it also describes our problem.
Yeah.
Because it's not so easy. It's easier. Afterwards, it's easy. But during the time, it's not easy at all. No, that is. And I hope many conflicts that we had for Ilirija, this morning I said to somebody important, look, I bet with you, you will see on the 25th of May, I bet with you a very expensive bottle of wine that you will enjoy it. I said, no, too many problems, whatever, I should not have agreed to you. I said, you will see it, you will understand it. I know you will understand it. And I'm also sure that it will happen, they will be overwhelmed, But of course, how can you, we are used to that. Architects are used to train our brains for space, But how can somebody who is a perfect doctor imagine the same brain as the architect? It's not possible, it's not realistic. Some people can do it more, some less. But at the end, it's the special adventure that the people have when they have this Ilirija project. I think, I hope that the people, I'm very positive that people will walk through these spaces and will be open, will be as nervous as I am, I hope. When I talk to
yeah, sure. And, but to achieve that, it takes a lot of time. I mean, that may be why you, at the beginning, you said we are undervalued. But I wouldn't say we are undervalued. It just, I think it's completely on us to present our value. We cannot expect that we will just say, this is it, and now you value us and pay us millions. You need to present kind of your value, and that's on us.
If I said this, I still want to confirm this, because I believe that we architects have one error. We overestimate our work. And in reality, the best we can define our contributions is that we have some jewels in the society, into the urban landscape. Because we must also admit that 500 years ago, or 300 years ago, or 150 years ago, we did not have a democracy, but we had a high quality of urbanistic, incredibly high quality. All the cities the same, all the villages the same. You cannot visit an old village, neither in the Bretagne, neither in Sicily, neither in north of Germany, without it saying, listen, they knew what they did. They did fantastic space and fantastic houses, even simple or Gothic cathedral. And what I see undervaluations, I think I'm suffering that urbanism, first of all, is completely undervalued. It's undervalued, undervalued.
Undervalued, yeah.
Undervalued for the climate crisis, totally. I think it's also our aim should be to publish this. I think this is very important. And the urbanists are not able to, because urbanism is still a very strange subject, you know, and it's not, improvements are very difficult. And I'm fighting a lot for a new land use and not to dedicate agricultural areas for buildings anymore. We have dedicated so much land to building. It's too much. Already now it's too much. We must build what we have dedicated already and not new areas. And we must reduce the city again. So we have done a lot of failures also, you know. And I don't understand why architecture and urbanism have compared to our friends, lawyers and doctors, why we have so much problems to convince the society. So in this case, I think we are undervalued. Because we have some jurors for this and that, and there's a competition project being realized. But at the end, we don't have enough impact on what happens in general. I don't think there's ever been a time where we have such a high percentage of ugliness and terrible investments and awful projects realized as now. I don't think in humanity ever before has been so much shit on the building side as today. And this does not apply to Slovenia, this applies to everywhere.
But I think that the only way to tackle that problem is like, you cannot tackle that with regulations and something prescribed or some masters. I think it should, and it only can come from the people. And so you need to kind of educate people, kids, and that's why I am so grateful, let's say, to Outsider, what they are doing, to Open House movement, what they are doing, because all that opens the access to quality architecture for the people, which it's not their job to know about quality architecture.
Yes, no.
But if they are
Right.
elevated, they know what is nice and what is not nice, then our job will be much easier. I see it on a simple case. If my clients are regularly just following Outside or some other magazine, let's say Häuser, Schöner Wohnen, which is basically not an architectural magazine, it's for the households and stuff, but still they're publishing a lot of objects and solutions and stuff like that, then my job is so much easier because we can much easier communicate. Yeah, we'll do that. We saw that. Pure concrete. No, this, wood, that. And I'm really grateful for all this media communicating that, and also this podcast of mine is kind of, first of all, it's my hobby, but secondly, it's my way of communicating what architecture is all about. Not now this solution, that solution, or the building permit and stuff, but writing the scenario how the family will live next 25, 30, 40 years, or in your case, how the city will live next half the century with this pool and everything what surrounds
I completely agree with you, and I also talk all the time about education, and we have had an initiative for architects teaching in school. Every one of us took some classes and so like that, and we have the houses of architecture in Austria. We have the architectural building commissions. This is something I would really recommend also for building architecture commissions.
Okay.
I'm now in a commission in Klagenfurt, which means there are 3 architects.
Okay.
They are very well recognized architects. Of course, we know each other. We are 3, one lady, Martha Schreik and Peter Rippel, they are amongst the top architects, but they don't have no connection to the city where they need to commission. We are not allowed to have any contacts or contracts or commissions in this city. Totally neutral. It takes between 3 or 5 years, and I think the delegation of the political meaning to experts is something we should have learned in COVID. We should have learned in COVID to listen sometimes to doctors and to virologists.
I don't think COVID is the perfect example for that.
But
because they said, at least in our place, they said many things which were completely
the virologists.
Nuts.
Okay.
No, but more politicians.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. But I said we should have learned to listen to scientists and not only to produce, I don't know, strange ideas by politicians in Austria who said you have to inject some horse fluid or whatever, and then it was really amazing. No? But I mean, I am writing since 10 years on a book which never finishes. And it's called What the Hell is Architecture?
Oh, really?
Yes, and there's no word of mine. I asked so far 17 famous people in Austria, not architects, what is architecture for them? The problem I have now that I have a kaleidoscope of different opinions. What is architecture? And not one is similar than the other one. So the goal to understand what the hell is architecture, I don't not achieve. Because for everyone, architecture is different. So I learned a lot. I thought to find something common over there. No. Complete, very intelligent people, politicians, whatever, scientists, whatever. And they cannot agree what is architecture. So I think it's like discussing about beauty. In my last conferences, also here in Ljubljana, I talked about beauty. Why? Because I feel provoked by the fact that beauty is not a criteria anymore in architecture. Not in juries, nothing. It's about economics, it's about function, it's about construction, and maybe also form, but not beauty is not allowed. And I think we should bring back, our aim should be of architects, to bring back architecture into the public discussion, like you, that's what you aim, and to discuss again beauty. The problem is that we're living in a town, we have no result, so we don't discuss it, which means we cannot agree on beauty, so it's everybody's taste. De gustibus non est disputandum, so we don't discuss it. But it's wrong, because if you don't discuss beauty anymore, even without that we have a common sense and we have a common result. It's important because if you stop discussing, then ugliness will dominate. Yeah. If the people don't discuss beauty anymore, they think, if it's beautiful or ugly, it's the same. So I might as well, it's cheaper, it's better, I like it, it's enough if I like it. It is not discussed anymore. And I think it's our aim which must bring this subject back into discussion.
Yeah, I agree. Now you went into the theme I'm very passionate about, and I think it's our responsibility. You also mentioned a lot here that bring that term and that beauty back inside. And I say it's a typical situation in my line of work when there is this solution and that solution or something, and client suddenly favors the less beautiful one with an argument it's more functional. And I always argue back, look, beauty is also a function.
Exactly.
Beauty is also a function. But then they say, but we cannot have it both. I said, okay, look, this is my responsibility. It's my responsibility to do it the way that it will be as functional as the one you like, but also beautiful.
Yeah. No, this is totally right. And I think for the Medici in Florence, beauty was a political impact. which means they want to be the better buildings, and their Palazzo Reale is one of the most beautiful buildings ever built, and they wanted to build it because they want to be stronger and better than Siena or other people, or Bologna maybe, and so on. So there was beauty was a matter, it was a political matter. Now this is not anymore. I would like to discuss with politicians, why don't you say, listen, in my period we have done, maybe Jankovic, maybe we convince him at the end of May, and say, look, this maybe from your period, this project and that project and the other project, that's what will remain from you. This was your period and this was your performance. Not if you were against this and that and the usual everyday life, but what remains from a politician is the project. I think we should convince the politicians, and maybe it's not anymore to convince the democratic politicians you should be like Medici, but a little bit to have joy and satisfaction about having realized this project. This is, I think, the case in Ljubljana. You know, this is positive. I think this is positive.
I think that the successful ones are quite aware of that, I would say.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I hope that politicians are not respected if they don't do any good projects.
Yeah. Okay, Peter. I kind of
coming to an end.
Coming to an end. Yeah. If you have anything else you would like to add to our conversation, I think we covered everything I strive to that interested me and much more, and it was really enjoyable conversation, at least for me.
Thank you. I can return the compliment. It was, of course, I can talk about architecture.
We can talk about that probably.
With no preparation, endless times.
Yeah.
I don't need to prepare, but I think thank you for this invitation anyway, and hopefully that we can achieve something or some awareness. I admire your initiative. That's why I immediately wrote you. And we are now in the phase of expecting the result of Ilirija. In a few months it will be like that, and then in the summer we can check if we achieved what we wanted.
I will be eagerly waiting for the 25th of May. That was the old day of use or something. It was Tito's birthday.
Tito's birthday? Okay.
Well, I mean, not official birthday, but the first day he celebrated.
But Tito was for architecture.
Tito was what?
He implemented? He was emphasizing architecture quite a bit.
I mean, the one who chose to put that date for the opening obviously knew that.
He knew that.
Sorry? I don't. Who chose the date for the opening?
Probably the mayor, because he wanted to give a limit to the.
Yeah. But the 25th of May is.
The mayor.
From the old.
The mayor is really incredible, because he wanted to have the building should be finished on the 3rd of October last year.
Okay,
oh my God, this is 18 months for this project. I don't know how they're going to do it, but we said it's not my business. But maybe he just wanted to have it as short as possible.
Like Elon Musk, who also pushes the
That's
limit.
right, impossible thing, and then he still achieves more. Now we are very happy if May can achieve. You know?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So Peter, thank you again.
Thanks
it was
a lot.
A great pleasure and a great meeting you after all those years. As I said, we met at your house in Trieste.
Yes.
I was very grateful that time you showed us
Yes,
around.
I forgot it actually, but I have shown it to many people. So
I didn't.
Yes, okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.